Watch ESPN. Lil Wayne was courtside for Game 1 here in OKC. He was not here last night, probably because of his tweet following Game 1. He tweeted, "I was treated like," you get the picture, "by the Thunder Arena staff. Damn, I hope the Heat beat the dog," again that word, "out of him." We know him. He's been on the program many times. Stephen A., you've communicated with his people throughout this series. Was that tweet out of line?
It was. It was. There's no way around it. I mean, listen, I've been on the record. You want to be very, very respectful to Lil Wayne from the standpoint of understanding where he came from and, you know, pulling himself up on his own bootstraps and accomplishing the things that he accomplished. And he's always been good to me whenever he's seen me and whatever. And I got love for him because I understand where he came from and how it is to get to this point. But that doesn't make everything that you do right. The city of Oklahoma City, these people have been fantastic. They've been fantastic to me. They've been fantastic to a whole bunch of people. And I'm not just talking about the citizens here in Oklahoma City. I'm talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder franchise. I'm talking about the personnel that work in the arena. The way folks conduct themselves is first class all around. Maybe you had an incident with a member of security. I don't know, but I know they don't define the entire staff. I know they don't define the entire franchise, and I know they don't define the entire city. And where it resonates for me on another level is that when you come from the African American community, one of the things that you're constantly guarding against is the actions of a few tainting you and tainting everybody from our community. Well, it works in reverse. If you had a problem with somebody who happens to be white, that doesn't mean that everybody who's white that works in the arena is against you. You couldn't get a courtside. You were complaining about how you couldn't get a courtside seat for the Western Conference Finals against the Spurs.
Right.
Well, you had it for Game 1, and there's still something to complain about. And then, oh, when you complain to millions of people over Twitter. Really? It's like, calm down, man. You know, Lil Wayne is not a bad guy. But at the same time, you have to understand that it's not about skin color, because you hinted towards racism. And it's not about skin color. It might not be about ethnicity. It might be about you. It might be about how you spoke to somebody. It might be about how you presented yourself. Again, I understand the industry, the genre that he's involved in. But at this game, in this city, they pray before they sing the national anthem. I haven't seen that in any other NBA arena. This is their culture. This is what they want. And there's plenty of black folks in Oklahoma City and throughout this state that have ingratiated themselves in that culture that have absolutely no problem with it. It's a part of them. So again, that means it's not about race. It might just be about you. And whether you like it or don't like it, to try to taint everybody is irresponsible. I can't defend that.
That was exceptionally well said, and I appreciate that. I also consider Wayne a friend. We've had him on the show, what, 3 or 4 times?
At least 3 times, I think 4.
I feel like I know him well enough to say I was really disappointed in his reaction to this. And I thought it was so unfair to turn this into a racial issue, because I don't believe it was a racial issue. That's petty and egomaniacal on Wayne's part. Like, how dare you? Okay, I'm going to brand you a racist via Twitter, and he did several interviews, one with the Associated Press about it. Look, bottom line, all those seats on the front row have been sold for however many years it's been, and those people have filled those seats night after night after night.
And you still got one, the Game 1 of the finals.
You got one. And the Thunder officials said, look, we'll put you behind the bench. You choose a bench, we'll put you behind the bench. We have no front row tickets because those people sit in those tickets and those seats. And I said on the show the day after this broke, if Wayne had called me, I'm pretty sure I know enough people, I could have hooked him up with a front row seat. Now, I would have to get somebody to give up their seat, but maybe they would have.
But Game 1, Skip, he did have a seat directly across from the Heat bench. It was courtside. Directly across from the Heat bench.
Right. So what's the issue? What's the problem? Did one guy mistreat him? I don't know. And look, when you cry racism, when you play the race card, I'm here to tell you that There's racism where you came from in New York City. There's racism where you came from in Cleveland.
It's everywhere.
Everywhere. There's racism. This is my hometown. Is there some racism here? Sure there is. Do I consider this a racist place? I definitely do not. And again, that's a subjective feeling, but I grew up here, and I did not feel like this was a racist, you know, deep South kind of culture. We're in the Southwest
You're
here.
We're not tuned into that.
I'm very tuned in, and I don't get it here.
Well, the biggest thing for me, you know, and I say this, and I can't speak for everybody, but I believe that a bunch of African Americans would share my position on this. When you bring up race, you need to make it count.
Ooh, yes.
You really need to make it count. You got to have something a bit more definitive than, oh, I wanted a courtside seat and we had problems. Or I showed up at the NBA Finals and, you know, I had a couple of peeps with me and I don't like the way a couple of security guards may have treated me. I need something more tangible than that. Because when we're having this kind of discussion, understand that black folks make up approximately 14% of the American population. There's a lot of white Americans out there in escalation, you know, that exceed about 65% of the American population. When you bring up race, and that's your reason, what happens is that real, legitimate, bona fide arguments pertaining to race get squashed and minimized because people turn a blind eye and a deaf ear because, oh, here we go again, here we go again. You have to have substance to an argument like this. And there is none here. There truly is not. You walk around, I challenge somebody during these NBA Finals, where even if there was racism, you know people would be highly sensitive to how they are projected. They would be very guarded against that. Right. It's not something that's going to be so evident and so obvious, okay? So, again, you have to be careful when you make these kind of assertions because now, when this show is over, and I walk out into the streets and I go to the airport and I fly home, or I'm in another city or whatever the case may be, all of a sudden, if I do encounter it, it's going to be minimized because arguments like this are out there, and it's weak. It's just weak. You can't do that.
Something that you have talked about on this show before, and I'll give you another chance to address it here because I think it's necessary. When you speak out on such issues, you've told me in the past that you often hear from people on Twitter who are saying that, Stephen A., you're turning your back on your people.
Well, listen.
What do you say to that criticism?
I was on my radio show in New York, 98.7 FM in New York yesterday, because, and I brought up this issue because people, you know, there are some people that have actually called me a sellout. Because if I have the audacity, the temerity to actually disagree with some people from our community and actually agree with someone white or someone Hispanic or whatever, I'm selling out because I'm talking about fact. I could care less because a lot of times these same people, you know what, if you put them in this spotlight, they would sit there and do whatever they could to capitulate and acquiesce just to earn an extra buck. I have a history, a proven history spanning 20 years where I've never been about that. So I don't care what they say in that regard. What I do care about, however, is this belief that if you are black, you are supposed to think a certain way. You're supposed to throw fairness out of the equation. You're supposed to throw truth out of the equation. You're supposed to throw facts out of the equation because, oh, we must stand together and say this is what it is to bring attention to racism. I have no problem doing that if it's factually correct. I have no problem doing that if it's evident. But if it seems to make no sense, I'm going to do that just because I want to make a statement on behalf of some folks, and I do say some in the black community because a vast majority of us do not think that way. We're fair-minded, God-loving people who want fairness for everybody. We just want equal and fair opportunities for everybody under the same roof. That's all we want.
Final word, Skip?
I second all your emotions, and I'm proud of you for saying all that you just said.
It's necessary.
Right, well done. We're going to hit a break. When we come back, we're handing out credit for the Heat's victory, which also means we have to hand out blame for the Thunder's loss. Who gets how much?